We've been on a nice little heater here with our PrizePicks entry. And the best part is when PrizePicks is paying you 3x, 5x, 10x your money, you don't even need to win every week. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to give you my PrizePicks entry for UFC 309. If you don't know what PrizePicks is, it's daily fantasy. You come in here, you say more or less than any of the numbers you see on the screen, you put a few of them together, and you can make some very real money. They'll even give you free money to play. The only thing you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/prizepicks. When you use promo code WWP, they will give you $50 that you can use after you place your first entry. So place an entry. I'm about to give you an entry. Throw $5 at it. They will give you $50 instantly that you can use to build as many entries as you want and do whatever you want with. Get your free money. $50 on top of a $5 entry is insane. WeWantPicks.com/prizepicks, promo code WWP. I'm going to give you a UFC 309 entry. Before we do that, let's take a little sneaky peeky at the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. First of all, I hoped they had a few other lines here. I don't have historical data to say, does Jake Paul cruise past 55.5 strikes? I don't know. I don't know what he's done in his previous fights. What I do know here, and you can do whatever you want with this information, Jake Paul's going to win this fight. He has to. Dude, Mike Tyson is 60 years old. And I understand at one point in time, he was a terrifying human being. He probably is still a terrifying human being, but he's 60. This fight was already canceled one time. This was supposed to happen in the summer, and Mike Tyson got an ulcer. Do you know what an ulcer is? It is an old man problem. He had old man problems, and they canceled the fight, rebooked it all the way till November. And I know you're seeing highlights of him hitting bags, and he looks fast. And that's amazing. Good for him. But those are small little increments of time. That's not a full-blown fist fight. These rounds are only 2 minutes, which is a tiny bit concerning, but there's no way Mike Tyson has the cardio. There's no way he's going to have the lightning fast speed. And he is by far the better fighter in this matchup, but he is 60 years old, and eventually age matters. I don't love these lines, so I'm not going to throw something into the PrizePicks, but keep an eye on this. This fight is Friday night. Check this out, midday Friday. They might have some more lines for you. I don't know how many strikes Jake Paul has landed historically. If you could do me a favor, and if you know, throw it in the comments. Maybe I'll come back and place an entry. Also, last thing on this, before we talk about UFC 309, Mike Tyson just fought a few years ago. He fought Roy Jones Jr. Yes, one of the best boxers of all time as well. He didn't look great then. You think he looks better now, 4 years later? I hate to say it. I would love to be wrong. I would love Mike Tyson knocking Jake Paul out would be a spectacular Friday night. It's just not going to happen. Let's focus on UFC 309. I don't love a lot of these lines either. UFC 309 is an interesting card because there's a lot of fights where I'm 100% sure I know who's going to win, but the value is gone. The lines are pretty tricky. But let's take a look here. We're going to start with significant strikes. I'll tell you right now, I don't love any of these. I'll tell you why. Jhonata Diniz, 34.5. Jhonata Diniz may get taken down almost immediately, and we saw in his last fight he's useless on the ground. So that's a problem. Mauricio Ruffy, 44.5. I am 10 to leaning more. I have more in my head because his opponent is made of cement. Like James Yontop's not very good, but he is a punching bag. And he's not going to go down, at least not early. So Mauricio Ruffy may get all these strikes off, may connect, may land at high volume, potentially get a super late finish or no finish at all. So I do kind of like the 44.5 over for Mauricio Ruffy, but we're going to leave it alone. Jon Jones, the 40 significant strikes. Frankly, I like the less there. I think Jon Jones is going to come in here, get this fight to the ground, and get it over with almost as quickly as he did in his last fight. But we're going to do the Jon Jones fantasy source, so I'll leave that alone for now. Karine Silva, 46.5. This may be a grapple-heavy back-and-forth fight, so I don't know if she's going to get there. The Bo Nickal line, I kind of like the more on 14.5 significant strikes. I'll tell you why. First of all, Bo Nickal has only ever landed 23 significant strikes. 23. In a 6-fight career, he's only landed 23 significant strikes. So that's kind of problematic for this 14.5 strike line. But with that being said, he is fighting a guy who is very dangerous on the ground, not dangerous on his feet. He also does not have a ton of octagon time given 6 fights. The game plan here might be to strike. His coaching staff, the corners, the teams, they may be saying, listen, This guy's not going to be a problem on the feet. So go out there, work your hands a little bit, get some time in, and then do what you're going to do. We occasionally see that in MMA. We see it a ton in wrestling. Obviously, he's a lifelong wrestler. I am as well. Similar accolades. But seriously, though, when you get some of these young wrestlers, you can take somebody down, let him up. Take him down, let him up. I want you to work your takedowns. I want you to do X. I want you to do Y. Use this as a learning experience because I know you're 10 times better than your opponent. We may get that exact same thing here. So I kind of like the more. Let's move to fight minutes. The Mauricio Ruffy one. If you think James Jhonata is as tough and durable as I am, then you could do the more on 9.75 fight minutes. But I am going to leave it alone because Mauricio Ruffy is freaking good. The Bo Nickel, I kind of like the more on the fight minutes the exact same way I like the higher on the significant strikes, not touching the Charles Oliveira line or the Jon Jones line. I think the less here is probably pretty good, but we're going to go to fantasy score, and that's where we're going to do the less on, or the more on Jon Jones. I think he gets the takedown, and I think he works from there. First of all, he's looking real good. When he came out and he fought Cyril Gane, he was looking a little thick, a little chunky. That's not how he looks this time around. He looks in phenomenal shape. He's got Gable Stevenson, an all-time great heavyweight wrestler, in his camp with him. And yes, Gable's learning from Jon, but Jon's learning from him as well. So I do think Jon Jones is going to get this to the ground and get it over with somewhat quickly. The rest of these fantasy scores are a little tricky. What I like to do with fantasy scores is find a favorite who I think loses or a dog who I think can score pretty well. Marcus McGee may win by finish, so the more on him would be a pretty easy pick there. Karine Silva, I don't like that line at all. Same with Veronica Hardy. Veronica Hardy could very much lose this fight. She could be taken down over and over and over again and either lose or squeak out a decision like Eduarda Moura's last opponent. But let's take a look at takedowns. Here's where we're going to round everything out. Oban Elliott, I'm going less than 2 takedowns. Listen, Oban could win this fight. I've actually picked the other side there, but fine. Let's say you think Oban wins this fight. He's not going to do it with a bunch of takedowns. He's not going to be going in there trying to take down Bassil Hafez over and over and over again. Maybe he somehow gets 1. If he gets 2, this is a push. He's not going to go ahead and get 3 takedowns against Bassil Hafez. It's just not going to happen. So I'm very confident in that. I also think Damon Jackson is going to get at least 2 takedowns. If you run through Damon Jackson's fight history, that's a very easy number for him to get to, especially in a matchup like this. He is fighting a black belt in Jim Miller, but Damon Jackson's a very good grappler in his own right. I don't think he's worried about the ground game of Jim Miller. So that is our entry. Let's go ahead and take a look out. Let's take a look at it. We got Oban Elliott fewer than 2 takedowns. Damon Jackson higher than 1.5 takedowns. And Jon Jones higher than that fantasy score. This is my entry. If you like this one, great. If not, build your own. Throw $5 at it and they will give you $50 instantly that you can use to build anything you want. WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks, promo code WWW.